Dr. T. Jayalakshmi, Professor, Department of Genetic Engineering, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai 73, is going to handle the course Genomics and Proteomics, course code U18 PCGE 403, and the topic is Applications of Proteomics in Drug Discovery. So first we'll see about the introduction of proteomics. So what is proteomics? So there is a difference between genomics and proteomics. We all know that the central dogma of biotechnology or molecular biology is, so from DNA, RNA is produced, which is called as transcription process, and from the RNA, protein is released, which is called as translation process. So from the RNA to the protein is produced. That part is called as proteomics. So here the proteomics definition is, the term proteome was first coined in 1994 by an Australian postdoctoral fellow named Mark Wilkins. Here he referred proteome as a total set of proteins expressed in a given cell at a given time. So here we can see the central dogma of molecular biology. So from genomics, DNA is produced, and then DNA, which is called as a gene, and it is converted to RNA. RNA is called as the transcription process. So from RNA, protein is produced. So from RNA to protein, it is called as translation process. And after that, from protein, metabolites will be formed. So this metabolites plays a major role in omics technology. So from DNA to RNA, and then RNA to protein, and protein to metabolite. So this process is called as transcription, translation, and enzymatic reaction. So from DNA to RNA is called as the genomics to transcriptomics process, and RNA to protein process is called as proteomics process, and from the protein to metabolite is called as the metabolomics process. So this kind of proteomics is used to study the dynamic protein products of the genome and their interaction. So here we can study the interaction between the genomics and transcriptomics. And then a large scale characterization and functional analysis of the proteins can be expressed by a genome. So we can see the characterization process from the proteomics to metabolomics process. Here important process is enzymatic reaction. So this kind of enzymatic reaction can produce a metabolite. So this kind of metabolite, it may be either a primary metabolite or secondary metabolite, so which is mainly used in the industrial purposes. So mainly proteome refers to the total set of proteins expressed in a given cell at a given time. So next, coming to the definition of proteomics, it also defines the complete set of proteins expressed during a cell's entire lifetime. So many scientists did many experiments on proteomics, and they gave different definitions on proteomics. So proteomics is also defined as the complete set of proteins expressed during a cell's entire lifetime. And it is also the study of the proteome, which it uses technologies ranging from genetic analysis to mass spectrometry. So here characterization of proteins is very important. So for characterization of the particular protein, we can use either gas chromatography or mass spectrometry. So it ranges from the genetic analysis stage to mass spectrometry stage, and after that we can identify a metabolite which is produced from the particular protein. So proteomics also assess activities, modifications, localization, and interactions of proteins in complexes. So we can define a complete set of proteins. So if you are taking the complete set of proteins, it should produce a complete set of gene sequences. And after producing the complete set of gene sequences, a metabolite is produced for this. So after metabolite is produced, we can go for the further modifications, localization, and interactions of proteins in many complexes. So in this structure, we can see how the central dogma of molecular biology is taking place. So I said already, DNA to RNA is called as transcriptomics, and then from RNA to protein is called as the translation process. which is otherwise called as proteomics process. So first one is chromosomes. So chromosomes are nothing but the single pieces of RNA that contain many genes. So after that, from the chromosomes, DNA molecule is produced, which with more nucleotides. So DNA is a molecule that carries genetic information from one cell to another cell. So here also we can refer the genes as which containing instructions for how to make the protein. So here from the chromosome, the DNA is produced and it will give the genetic material and it gives information about the how to making the different types of proteins, which is called as the translation process. And then proteins act alone or in groups to perform many functions. So first section is called as the genomics. So here chromosomes are produced, which is containing many genes, and then it is converted to transcriptomics. So here, which carries the genetic information. And also this kind of genes will give the instructions for how to make proteins. And then from this, the proteomics is produced. So proteins act alone or in groups to perform many functions. Next, coming to the introduction of proteomics. So proteome indicates the total proteins expressed by a genome in a cell or tissue. So we know that proteome contain many biomarkers and the total proteins are expressed a particular cell or a tissue. So biomarkers detection might allow identification of patients who would benefit from further evaluation. So from these proteins, we can produce a biomarkers which is used to cure the particular infections of patients. So with the development of proteomic techniques, proteome analysis provides a fast, non-invasive diagnostic tool for patients with various diseases. So by using this proteomics technique, we can diagnose a particular disease and also the treatment for the particular diseases. So the advent of highly sensitive proteomic technologies can identify proteins associated with development of various diseases before the clinically identifiable alteration. So mass spectrometry, which is using here, which we are using here, will give the high resolving power and it can mainly identify proteins with more accuracy. So from the proteome, we can identify the biomarkers and this biomarkers will provide a fast, non-invasive diagnostic tool for patients with various diseases. So here, this kind of technologies can identify a particular patient who is having a particular disease and then we can give the alteration also. So how to identify the particular metabolite means with the help of mass spectrometry. So only when compared to other techniques like gas chromatography, so mass spectrometry is having the high magnifying power and it also identifies protein with high effectiveness and more accuracy. So in this diagram, we can see what is the need of proteomics and what is the importance of proteomics in genetic engineering. So in genomics, I said that DNA tells what is possible. And then it transfers the genetic material from one generation to another generation. Then the genomics is converted to transcriptomics. So here in transcriptomics, RNA, what probably does, it's called as transcriptomics. And these two involve together and it is identified as proteomics. So in proteomics means proteins, what actually happens. So you can see the difference between these three types. So in genomics, what DNA tells what possibly it can do. And in transcriptomics, we can study RNA is what probably do. And then in proteomics, so proteins, what actually happen. So these are the various differences between these three types of omics technologies. So continuing the importance of proteomics. So I said that here the DNA is converted to RNA, which is called as transcription process. And then the RNA processing will take place which is converted to mRNA. So processing is nothing but the alternative splicing and mRNA editing takes place. So DNA to RNA, which is converted as transcription process, is called as the transcriptional regulation. And then from RNA to mRNA, which is called as the processing of alternative splicing mRNA editing technology. And then from mRNA to protein, translation is involved. So translation is called as the, this part is called as translational regulation. So, and then protein which is produced involved in the proteolysis process, post-translational modification, and also the compartmentalization process. So here protein plays a vital role because it mainly involves in the lysis process, post-translational modification, and also in the compartmentalization process. So the behavior of gene products is difficult or impossible to predict from gene sequences. So even if gene is transcribed, its expression may be regulated at the level of translation. So the gene products which is produced is very important. So we have to predict the particular gene sequences which is involved in the transcription process, and also its expression can also be monitored regularly. So and also the level of translation should be compartmentalized, and then we can see the post-translational modification process. So next, coming to the types of proteomics. So there are different types of proteomics involved. So the main thing is structural proteomics. So in this, the ultimate aim of this proteomics is to build a body of structural information that will help or predict the probable structure and potential function for almost any protein from knowledge of its coding sequence. So functional proteomics involved the use of proteomic techniques which to analyze the characteristics of molecular protein networks involved in a living cell. And then the expression proteomics involved in the quantitative study of protein expression between sample differing by some variables. So in structural proteomics, we can study about the potential structure of the particular protein of the target protein, and also we can know the coding regions of protein. And then in functional proteomics, we can analyze the characterization of molecular protein networks which is involved in the living cell. And in expression proteomics, so I said about the post-translational modification. So we can study about this post-translational modification by using this expression proteomics, and the protein expression between sample differing by some variables can also be measured. So what are the objectives of proteomics? So here protein to peptide separation is mainly done by gas chromatography, and then identification and peptide characterization of resolved proteins can be done by mass spectrometry, and then data analysis and applications. So we are studying the proteomics for these three types of objectives, like how the protein peptide is separated, and then we have to separate the proteins, particular proteins, and then we have to identify and characterize the resolved proteins used. And after that, from that we can do the data analysis and we can study the applications of the particular protein which is separated. So this is the protein structure. So we all know that there are four types of protein structure: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. So primary structure is a sequence of specific amino acid which is present in the polypeptide chain. So here we can see the primary structure which is having amino acid sequences. So glycine, phenylalanine, so leucine, cysteine. So these are the different types of amino acids which is producing the primary structure of proteins, and it is having the specific sequence of various amino acids. And then secondary structure is the primary polypeptide chain which gets properly folded in the form of alpha helix, beta pleated sheet, and random coils and turns will be produced. So in the primary structure, there will be no coiling formation. So only the sequence of the particular amino acids are in the presenting in the sequence like a polypeptide chain. But in secondary structure, we can see that the coiling nature of all the proteins, and which is named as alpha helix and beta helix. So here in secondary structure, we can see the alpha helix and the hydrogen bond structure. So next one is tertiary structure. So tertiary structure means the secondary structure will get interpreted with the each other chemically to form the three-dimensional structure shape of the protein. So here we can see in a primary structure the sequence of amino acids is seen, and in secondary structure there will be a coiled nature which is having the alpha helix, and in the tertiary structure the 3D structure of proteins will be produced. So here it will be having either alpha helix and the beta sheet. And then quaternary structure mainly consists of the interaction between different polypeptide unit. So here in quaternary structure, we can see alpha chain, beta chain, and also the heme structure. So where we can see indicated as the red color in the quaternary structure. So this is the experimental workflow of proteomics. So first one is proper sampling, collection, and storage. So first we have to properly sampling the particular protein, and we have to store it out. And then sample pre-processing is done. And then immunodepletion or protein concentration can be done. And then we have to separate the proteins by using SDS phage, that is sodium dodecyl sulfate polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis or two-dimensional electrophoresis, or we can fractionization can be done using the liquid chromatography. So here in this step we can either use SDS phage or any other liquid chromatographic techniques for the protein separation process. And after that it should be placed on the gel which is having the tryptic digestion or in solution digestion, and then protein identification can be done by liquid chromatography or mass spectrometry. So after that protein identification can be done by sequenced and mascot method, and after that we can go for the, so here in protein identification we can identify the particular metabolite which is primary or secondary, and then with the help of that metabolite we can go for the bioinformatics analysis, so which is called either done by many softwares, and then we can go for the molecular docking techniques. So this is the major experimental workflow of proteomics. So after the separation process, the procedure of proteomics involved separation of proteins can be done by one-dimensional electrophoresis, two-dimensional electrophoresis. So many modern methods are available for 2D electrophoresis, and then we can go for multi-dimensional HPLC. So high performance liquid chromatography, which is also a modern technique for the separation of proteins. So and then we can analyze the particular protein by using mass spectrometry. So mass spectrometry is also a modern method for protein analysis. And then with the help of any basic software tools or bioinformatics tools, we can go for the database utilization process. So after that, 5 steps of proteome analysis is there. So first one is sample collection, handling, and storage. Second one is separation of individual proteins by 2D gel electrophoresis. And then third one is protein characterization. And then fourth one is identification by mass spectrometry or other methods. And fifth one is storage, manipulation, and comparison of the data using bioinformatics tools. So starting from the sample collection, and it ends with the database using bioinformatics softwares. So between that separation, protein characterization and identification by different instruments can also be done. So proteomics techniques are of different types. So here main technique involved is gel-based treatment, that is SDS phage or 2DE. And then off gel base consists of liquid chromatography. So examples for off gel bases SCX, RP, LC, and immunoaffinity techniques. And then quantitative proteomics involved ITRAQ, ICAT, and SILAC. So these are all the different quantitative proteomics method. And coming to the types of mass spectrometry, MALDI, LCMS, and CEMS. So these are all the different proteomics techniques. So where we can use to quantitate and analyze the particular proteins. So in this diagram, we can see how the LC, that is chromatography and gel-based method is different. So first we can take the protein mixture. Example, body fluid or tissue, food matter can be taken, and then it is undergoing the treatment for liquid chromatography and gel-based workflow. So in LC-based workflow, in solution digestion of protein mixture can take place, and in a gel-based workflow, protein separation on one-dimensional or 2D gels will be produced. So after that, in solution digestion of protein mixture is produced the liquid chromatography separation of peptides. So after that, so protein separation, in gel digestion of protein mixture will be taken place. So after that, we can go for the mass spectrometry. So in this graph, we can see the difference between LC-based workflow and gel-based workflow. And then if you are going for the mass spectrometry analysis of peptides, so here we can use MALDI-TOF and ESI MS instruments, and then we can go for the data analysis. So in data analysis, we can see protein identification, protein quantification, and protein validation methods. So what are the main techniques involved in structural proteomics are? So here we can analyze the large scale analysis of protein, and protein structural comparisons can help to identify the function of newly discovered genes, and we can use X-ray crystallography and NMR spectroscopy. So in this diagram, you can see the mass spectrometry method. So here X-ray beam is produced on the crystallized molecule. From this crystallized molecule can be diffracted into different rays, and we can see the distract the different rays by using the thin film. So protein separation techniques are one-dimensional, that is called as SDS phage, and two-dimensional SDS phage. So first of all, we should know what is SDS phage. So it is a type of gel electrophoresis, and what is the purpose of doing a gel electrophoresis is, it has been seen that by running a gel, we are able to identify more proteins from the sample. And also an electric current is applied across the gel, which causing proteins will differentially migrate based on their molecular mass. So based on the molecular weight and molecular mass, so the proteins will get separated on the gel electrophoresis method. So in this diagram, we can see isoelectric focusing gel method, and then how it is placed on the SDS page. So low pH and high pH will be there. So base proteins will be there. To the base proteins, we have to apply the electric field, and then you have to equilibrate in SDS transfer focusing gel to SDS gel. And then we have to apply orthogonal electric field. So in the first one, pH is very low, and also in the second one. So which first one is called as base protein, and the second one is called as the acid proteins. So both of them is having the high pH and low pH. And then we have to equilibrate. So that is, it should come to the neutral stage. So equilibrate in SDS transfer focusing gel to SDS gel, and then we have to apply orthogonal electric field, which is called as intermediate step, and then we have to place it in the SDS page. So based on the molecular weight and size of the particular protein, and this type of proteins are get separated. So more the molecular weight, it is separated, and the high low molecular weight proteins can also be separated based on the charges involved. So next important method is 2D gel electrophoresis. So 2D gel electrophoresis is a method for the separation and identification of proteins in a sample by displacement in two-dimension technique. So first step is to separate based on charge or isoelectric point, which is called as isoelectric focusing. And then based on the size, SGS page is produced. So in this diagram, we can see first we have to take the protein sample and then we have to apply the electric field. So, and then minus and plus is there. And then we should neutralize by using the IEF, which is called as isoelectrical focusing. So in isoelectric focusing, the neutral charges will be produced and then we have to place it on the SGS page. So after placing on the SGS page, the bands will be separated based on the size and molecular weight. In the SGS page, the protein sample gets separated. So we can see it in the last diagram. That is the fifth step. So in this, we can see on the film, we can see the protein bands. So first one is separation of proteins by PL value, and the value is decreasing. And then the second one is soaking the gel in SDS solution and fitting it on an SDS PA gel. And then third one is separating the proteins by molecular mass with SDS page. So first step, the pH will get decreased, and then the third step, the decreasing molecular mass is produced. So we can plot a graph based on the x-axis and y-axis. So in x-axis, we can take the decreasing PL, and the y-axis we can see the decreasing molecular mass, and then we can plot a graph based on the molecular weight. So here in the diagram we can see approximately 1000 E. coli proteins on a single 2D gel. So we can see how the proteins get separated in a single gel film. So next, the important chromatographic technique involved is high performance liquid chromatography. So here a pre-treated patient sample is taken and it is having the solvent. So we have to induce the solvent in it, and then we have to pump it out. And with the help of injector, the sample will go to the liquid chromatographic column. So in the liquid chromatographic column, so based on the molecular weight, so the ion source will get separated, and then ion source will be emitted to the mass spectrometry, so which is called as the ionized sample. So from the mass spectrometry, it will go to the detector. So on the from the detector, we can produce the output. So this is the flow chart or diagram of HPLC. So where the pre-treated patient sample is converted, and based on the molecular weight, it gets separated and we can process it in the mass spectrometry, and then in the detector, from the detector we can get the output of the particular pre-treated patient sample. So another important technique to identify the proteins is mass spectrometry. So it is mainly used for protein identification. It is useful to obtain structural information like peptide mass sequence, and it is also useful in identifying type and location of protein modification, and it also separates proteins according to their mass to charge ratio. So here this is very important. So M bar Z ratio is very important. So here the proteins will get not based upon the molecular weight. It mainly depends upon the mass to charge ratio. So the molecule is first ionized, and then the process of ionization of proteins forces them to move towards the analyzer because of the charges on ions. And then mass spectrometry can provide molecular weight and structural information, and it always works with positive ions. And then in mass spectrometry, when we are comparing this mass spectrometry with 2D gel electrophoresis, so this 2D gel electrophoresis separates only the proteins, but it never identifies it. But mass spectrometry is used to identify them which separates charged particles or ions according to mass. So there are two types of mass spectrometry instruments. First one is MALDI-TOF, that is matrix assisted laser desorption ionization time of flight. So it is defined as MALDI-TOF, and this MALDI is method for ionization and TOF is a mass analyzer. So here two things are involved. So in the first part, we can see about the method of ionization of the particular ions which we have taken. And in the second part, it will mainly analyze the mass of the particular molecule. And then ESI tandem mass analyzer, ESI MS can be processed where the ions are produced in the source of the instrument. And then tandem mass analyzer can able to perform two-stage mass analysis process. So that it is named as ESI, MS and MS. So this is the diagram of mass spectrometry. So here first we have to enter the sample in the first phase, and then we are producing the electron beam source, and then heater vaporizes the sample. So from that the ions get accelerated. So after the ions get accelerated, it involves in the magnetic field which deflects the lightest ions most. Which is mainly depends upon the magnet we are using. So if the magnetic field deflects lightest ions most, it will get interacted into the detector. So from the detector, we can get the output of the particular sample. So components of mass spectrometry involves three steps: ionization, ion separation, and ion detection. So ionization involving the ion source, which is called as electron ionization, EI, chemical ionization, CI, fast atom bombardment, FAB, electrospray ionization, ESI, and matrix assisted laser desorption ionization, which is called as MALDI. And the second step is ion separation. In ion separation, mass analyzer, quadrupole, magnetic deflection type, electrostatic type, and time of flight TOF is produced, and also the ion trap. So ion detector, so this input is the ion source, and then we have to process by using the ion separation analyzer, and then the output can be get through the ion detection, which is called as detector. And the detector involves electron multiplier, multi-channel plate, and Faraday cup. So first one is ionization, where the ion source is involved. So in source, it produces gas phase ions from the sample. And then in a mass analyzer, it resolves ions based on their mass to charge ratio. So I already said that in mass spectrometry, it mainly depends upon the mass to charge ratio. So here the mass analyzer mainly involves the mass to charge ratio, and then the detector which detects ions resolved by the mass analyzer. So these three are interconnected to each other. So we have first it has to produce the source, and then it should go into the mass analyzer, and then it should combine with the detector. Then only we can get the output result very clearly. So after doing all these techniques, so we have to go for the protein fingerprinting. So what is protein fingerprinting means? It's also called as peptide mass fingerprinting or peptide mapping. It is a technique used by the identification of proteins. Here the separated protein spots are obtained from the gel and then identified using fingerprinting. This method is based on the use of a proteolytic enzyme to digest the protein into a number of small peptides. So here we can know that the unknown protein of interest cleaved into peptide by protease enzyme. So the most commonly used protease is trypsin, which cuts the protein at lysine and arginine positions. So when the digestion is complete, a set of peptides are produced of varying masses, which are unique to that of protein. So by using the protease enzyme, we are doing the protein fingerprinting technique, so which is a major technique for the identification of proteins. So this is the diagram of peptide fingerprinting. So first one is separation of proteins. So I already said about the gel electrophoresis. So based on the molecular weight, the charges and also the charges, the bands will get separated. So separation of proteins can be done by 2D gel electrophoresis, and then enzymatic digestion by trypsin will take place, and then the third one, micropurification method involving the salt concentration, and then we can go for the mass spectrometric analysis, and after that we can do the data interpretation technique. So MALDI first, and then had to go for TOF, and then with the help of detector we can go for, after that we can get the output and data interpretation can be done through that. So like that of protein fingerprinting, protein microarrays are also very important. It is another strategy for large scale study of proteins similar to the protein microarray. So here the procedure is a very small amount of different purified proteins are placed on a glass slide in a pattern of rows and columns, followed by the addition of various types of the probe molecule that are fluorescent dye labeled to the array. So after getting the particular probe, the probe binds to the label, which results in fluorescent signal that can be read by a laser scanner. So this technique can detect thousands of protein interactions, and which can screen the ability of protein to bind other proteins in complex receptors, antibodies, lipid, enzymes, hormones, specific DNA sequences, or small molecules such as new drugs. So protein array is a new technology to detect various amount of proteins, and also we can detect thousands of protein interactions. So this is the diagram of protein microarray. So in this we can detect the tumor inducing probes also. So we can prepare the cDNA probe. So here normal probe and tumor containing probe is taken, and then we have to go for the reverse transcriptase or polymerase chain reaction. So and then label with the fluorescent dyes, and we have to it indicates the green color. From normal probe means it indicates the green color, tumor containing probe means red color, and then we have to combine it in the equal qualities and then hybridize probe to microarray, and then we have to scan it, and we can see the particular proteins, so which is differ in the color. So we can see the yellow spots, green spots, red spots. Green spots indicates the normal probe, and yellow color is a control, and red color indicates the tumor containing probe. So where we can see with the help of scanner, which is called as the microarray technology. And then we have to place it on the microchip plate, and then plate reader will identify the normal and tumor containing proteins. So by using this type of techniques, we can undergo protein to protein interactions. So protein to protein interactions occur when two or more proteins bind together. And what is the use of this protein interaction? Protein to protein interactions means, so proteins work together to carry out the cell functions. So here we can see protein 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are combined together in the cell membrane, and which gives the cell function. And this type of this all kind of proteins works together to carry out the various cell functions. So and then we are having yeast to hybrid system also for protein to protein interaction. Here most of the yeast to hybrid system utilize the reconstitution of an active transcription factor to assay for protein to protein to make in interactions. And then a yeast to hybrid system mainly uses the transcription process to make the prediction about protein interaction. And also it requires two yeast hybrid which can be prepared, called bait and prey system. So bait is nothing but the protein which is fused to the transcription factor or DNA binding domain, and the prey protein is fused to a transcription factor, and the activation domain will be produced. So after expression, the yeast cell containing the appropriate prey and the bait brings the DNA binding domain and the activation domain into close proximity, creating a functional transcription factor. So the bait prey nomenclature has applied to in vitro method used to study protein analysis. So in vitro method for protein interaction analysis are often employed to confirm interaction indicated by the yeast to hybrid method. So this is the yeast to hybrid system where we can take the bait and prey, and then it should be involved in the transcriptional activated binding site, and transcription of reporter gene has been taking place. So other databases involved in the identification of proteins include data analysis, search engine consists of Sequest, Mascot, Xtandem, and Peaks, and protein databases include NCBS and SwissProt. So this is the journal where we can see that it identifies the quantitative proteomic analysis of the rice, and which is leading to the salt response. And then basic information statistics, protein mass distribution, distribution of protein sequences coverage, and peptide number distribution can be seen by using this peptide mass spectrometry. So by taking protein ID in y-axis and log with base 2 in x-axis, we can see the protein ratio distribution. So we can see all these things in the quantitative proteomic analysis of rice varieties. Then the application of proteomics involves protein sample identification or confirmation, protein sample purified determination, detection of post-translational modifications, and detection of amino acid substitution, mass fingerprint identification of proteins, nutrition research, and it is also used to identify unknown protein of interest, quantify protein and peptide, protein markers. So there are different applications of proteomics in various plant, animal, and human species. So coming to the conclusion, proteomics is a composite study of a set of proteins. The detailed protein studies will shed light on the role of protein modification in protein function. The development of proteomics renders it with a powerful tool to examine biochemical processes at the molecular level and identify set of proteins. So during plant life, sometimes in adverse conditions, it can pass us through biotic or abiotic stresses at a time. So proteomics can also be a useful tool to identify various set of proteins. Thank you.